for this session, we have with us Theodore Garcia. In short, we can call him Ted Garcia, serves as an Executive Vice President of Strategy at RSG Media. In his capacity, he's responsible for customer care and success for his clients around the world. He also leads marketing, business development, and partnership management. Mr. Garcia has worked in the media and entertainment world for almost 30 years, having held management positions at Universal Studios, PwC, Capgemini, and CTS, which is Cognizant. So welcome, Ted, to our session on Metaverse. So Ted, before we start getting into the real meat of the session, on a very top level, I really want to understand from you, what according to you is Metaverse?
The Metaverse, well, I think in simple words, the Metaverse is the future of the internet. Or it could be a glorified video game. There was a novel written in the early 1990s that coined the phrase Metaverse. And in that novel, it offered a dystopian view of the future. What was interesting is that in that view, the Metaverse was something that the internet ultimately evolved into, which was a virtual reality-based internet that resembled a massive multiplayer online game. So when we speak about the Metaverse, we're talking about virtual reality, which now consists of what I would call virtual worlds that continue to exist, what we call persistence, even when you're not playing. This also includes augmented reality. The Metaverse also includes the digital economy. These are things that people know as Bitcoin and NFTs. And this is where people can buy, create, and sell goods. So the Metaverse, in my mind, is something that's interoperable. It allows you to take virtual items like clothes and cars and move it from one platform to another.
Perfect. So, Ted, I mean, we both have bled into the media space, right? I mean, so when it's a buzzword or there's something which is is being talked about, media enterprises embark on that journey. Be it digital transformation, be it the AR, VR, the 3D TV, and so on and so forth. So, how do you see media enterprises playing a pivotal role in this ecosystem?
Well, when we look at what I would call use cases for the Metaverse, we're seeing it quite frequently applied to the education sector. So these might be remote training programs. You're definitely seeing it in the aerospace and defense sector. You're seeing it in the fashion industry. And of course, we're seeing it quite consistently in the media entertainment side. And I think the press covers the M&E side because they probably think it's a little bit sexier. So when you look at, sort of the leaders of this, the trailblazers, you had Blizzard Entertainment's World of Warcraft, for example, which was a persistent virtual world where people could buy and sell products. Fortnite, of course, is well known, where you play against other players. And here we're starting to see the expansion of this metaverse, where Fortnite is teamed with an animation studio to create theatrical content that basically seamlessly ports into the metaverse. So you're now having storylines and engagements that bridge the virtual and real worlds. So of course, you can always strap on your Oculus headset and have your own personal virtual home, but I don't think this is really where the metaverse is going. I don't think it's just some kind of video game. We have online experiences already that offer entire virtual worlds. We can already attend a digital concert. We can go to a sporting event. We can take video calls from people all over the world. We already have online avatars when you have a meeting, and there's certainly commerce platforms. But I think the studios now really need to reimagine what that experience is supposed to be, and then begin to create that content and that experience that aligns to their consumers' expectations.
Perfect. So Ted, I mean, just a complimentary question to that, what will be the monetization avenue? So you spoke about those very large numbers, right? So how
Mm-hmm.
will those numbers be equated? As you rightly mentioned, no one's going to make billions by selling digital clothes, because the clothes which you're not going to wear, right,
Right.
at for your entire day. You might be in metaverse for say 4 hours, 5 hours of your entire day, but the rest of your life is physical. So when you speak with your clients, where does those monetization avenues on a day-to-day basis you believe will come through?
Sure. So at a high level, and then we can dive into it a little bit. Where people are focused, of course, is in the gaming sector. They're also focused on the learning sector, social interaction, training, virtual shopping, and just general content creation. I think if there's been any, I'm not going to say the word positive, but catalyst for the advancement of the metaverse, it has been the COVID pandemic, because it forced people to change the way that they interacted with others. And so you saw the growth of interaction for work and for education, where people were now moving online and having that kind of remote interaction. So the metaverse itself has penetrated through a variety of market spaces and industries. And this revenue, I think, is going to be increasing. What is going to be important for the revenue growth is where the physical world and the digital world are integrated with the use of the internet and within this metaverse. And so again, we start to see investments in augmented reality or virtual reality or even mixed reality. And I think these investments are going to continue as people are building on the concept of the metaverse.
RSG is predominantly into rights management, contracts administration, and royalty processing, right? And the
Right.
overall ecosystem is like an IP, which needs to be protected. So
Yes.
where do you see the real value of existing media technologies like RSG in this complex ecosystem?
Sure. So I think that while user-generated content provides for infinite creative possibilities, it also means that the studio and content owners must be prepared for their content to be manipulated by other users or utilized in unexpected ways. For example, if someone decorates their virtual office with copyrighted images that they don't own, how will the owners of those copyrighted images be compensated? Or what happens if people are creating content that uses music or movie clips or iconic images of specific buildings that are trademarked? Or what if they want to create an environment where they're flying around and selling rides for Bitcoin on a Millennium Falcon from Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
So the overall consideration here, I think, is around rights management.
Yeah.
And so when granting any content licenses for the metaverse, it's important for those content owners to consider who should be able to use or to manipulate that content, and what ways are they allowed to do so, and basically how will content owners be compensated. So the scope of the license needs to allow for the distribution on other platforms. So how will that license and how will that content transfer with the content, and how will the IP owner monitor and enforce the licenses? These are all critical things. So in my world, I work with very large global consumer brands. And the question that they're always asking is, how will my brand interact with my customers in the metaverse? So brands themselves will be able to give consumers the opportunity to interact and experience products and services without a single item ever having to be physically produced or delivered, right? So You can buy a high-end fashion item, you can buy a high-end watch, you can wear that watch in the metaverse, but we still have to help our clients track how this new form of revenue is going to be managed and how they're going to account for it. So we help our clients define the IP licensing arrangements with the metaverse platform providers so that we can help our clients track the royalties owed and when they're due and how they're managed. So with any IP license, we have to manage the typical terms such as windows, territories, royalty rates. It's the scope of the license, right, that we have to track. So we also have to walk our clients through the inherent risks that are involved with granting rights in the metaverse that ultimately might limit their rights for future uses. Just for example, a clothing company might create a shirt for a digital game, and then that shirt or that outfit might be used in another game. But what if they want to manufacture that shirt for the real world? How are those rights structured? So we need to create rights management system that is flexible and accountable, right? So our systems are used to help our clients manage their brands, but also to control the brand. So for example, a client may have a product that is licensed to use in a particular game, but may not be used in the depiction of graphic violence, for example. So we have to help our clients define technologies that limit the use at the outset so that there's no disputes, down the track. So we're constantly educating our clients around what the metaverse means and what the terms of service and end user licenses agreements might mean. And we have to help our clients track product ownership, the scope of any relevant rights that pass with ownership, the descriptions and information about the relevant product. All of these things are being brought together. And this is where actually you find it quite interesting, because you're now getting into the worlds of where blockchain and rights management occurs. And blockchain applied to rights management has been something that's been talked about for a while. But now we see how we can embed information at the point of purchase, which then gives clarity on what people can and cannot do with the digital products in the use of the metaverse. And this is around management of the digital product lifecycle. So, these are just some of the things that we focus on to help our clients around rights management in the metaverse.
And that's interesting because you took what's the legacy for a media enterprise and then extended it to a level which is a limitless or a boundaryless kind of an environment, and
Right.
where think about a content asset just moving to like say 500 or 600 platforms, but here we absolutely don't even know how long that license can be used and reused, how to track those, and what you rightly mentioned, through blockchain, through a decentralized one, we can absolutely track those users and authentication at some point of time. So which is fabulous. So just one thing, Ted. So you spoke a lot about rights management, contracts administration, royalty processing. If I ask you, what would be six of say 3 or 4 or 6 or 7 characteristics which a rights management solution should have to basically address this next generation metaverse requirement, what would be those? So you spoke about flexibility, you spoke about scalability, but what would be few of those other characteristics which you believe can give someone like RSG a competitive edge?
So I think, I mentioned that the threat of user-generated content and how it impacts the media entertainment companies that own the IP. I think that from a rights perspective, we have to have controls in place that monitor and enforce the proper use of the licensed content. This will help the IP owners monetize their IP for adaptive reuse in the metaverse. And this is where they would, generate royalties. I think that from a rights perspective, the metaverse is going to contain cross-platform content. And so therefore, you need tools that enable this so that digital goods and virtual identities are able to travel across the metaverse and across various platforms. But you also need to ensure that there is content control considerations and whether or not you want your content interoperable across the metaverse platforms. So therefore, if someone buys an image, is that image portable? And should you be able to generate new revenue if it is portable? So the fact that, I think number 3, we have to take into account the persistent nature of the metaverse. I mentioned that a little bit earlier. In other words, the metaverse is live by default. It doesn't stop when you leave the environment. So therefore, what happens when you're offline still may impact your digital existence. So imagine if you had procured some virtual goods and you paid a license for, but you didn't actually retrieve it. Another user could possibly come in and pick it up while you're signed off. The same way that if you left a wallet on the street corner in the real world, it might not be there when you go back the next day. So how do you manage your own rights? So this is applied to the same concept is applied to studio content. It has to be monitored 24/7. I think another area from a rights perspective is that the metaverse will continue to bring real world elements into the metaverse. So the metaverse, in other words, is likely to be a digital twin of the real world. So it will contain virtual depictions of many of the places and people and things found in the physical world. All these digital recreations raise questions around the scope of real world ownership rights and whether those rights are afforded the same protections in the metaverse. And again, back to rights and rights management, and in an ideal world, how can the owner of that IP monetize those rights and control them? Again, this is where RSG is helping our clients sort through all of this. I think probably the most important thing, of course, is the revenue, right? So the metaverse economy is a critical area of attention because the metaverse will likely have its own economy where people earn, they spend, they invest, they purchase digital goods and digital services perhaps. So the metaverse platforms, or the different platforms within the metaverse, may have different capabilities as far as what currencies are accepted, crypto or otherwise, right? So can you link your existing services like Apple Pay or PayPal to your metaverse and your currency transactions within the metaverse? And that begs the question then, how will IP owners collect their royalties and monitor obligations and licenses and the relationship between licensees back to the licensors? These 4 or 5 things, these are questions that we're all still working through and developing recommendations for our client base.
So yeah, I mean, it's quite a lot for us to even digest and speak about. But yeah, so summing this up, what you rightly mentioned, flexibility, scalability, and interoperability within both these words, basically. So it's about taking your physical experience into a virtual world, which doesn't sleep to a certain extent, which is in one sense absolutely a thing that needs to be looked at. So Ted, I think it's pretty interesting to understand your perspective and RSG's roadmap into this into the world within a world. And we absolutely want to thank you for your contribution as well as time in building up this asset for us. So again, thank you for your time and have a good day.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your time.